welcome back to 1776 or Bust. So today we're going to actually shoot the CYELEE, I'm not really sure how to pronounce the optic, but this is their Ghost optic. It's pretty damn nice. It's big, robust, very good window size, very, very, visual in regards to how bright it gets in the settings. But we're going to test it out. We're going to see how it works, and hopefully it's zeroed in properly, but we're going to find out now. All right, here we go. Let's see if this thing is even, not even sure. First of all, I gotta turn the brightness up. Okay, not too bad. Missed a few, dropped a few, but I'm gonna put it in the camera here a little bit closer than me, but this thing's pretty good, man. Very bright, very easy, as you guys hopefully may be able to see. I'm not sure. I have to take my sunglasses off because I can't see, but you can see in there it's got the red circle, so that's pretty cool. You can change it to a red circle dot, red circle, and just a plain dot, but I mean, so far, it works, and I think this is like 150 bucks. Like, that's crazy. When you're talking about affordability, especially now in the way the market is and the way people are losing money, it's hard to go wrong with cheaper products that actually work. Apparently this can be dropped from 6 feet. I reached back out to them to see if they wanted to send me another one because I do want to test that out because it looks like there's a shroud that covers it, which is kind of cool. So it's a little bit added protection for the optic. But I mean, overall, it's no different than the 507K or 407C or 507C or whatever the hell you're shooting. But it seems to be, pretty spot on. So not too bad. All right, so let's do a couple of more magazines of this CYELEE, whatever it's called. But it seems to be, like I said, pretty on point optic, which is good. I dropped a few again. I kind of, it's a learning curve for me with the optics. I think I dropped the last maybe 2 or 3, but so far so good. Really, really enjoying this optic, guys. It looks pretty damn good.
All right, guys, and welcome back to the table. Here we go with the MR920 and the CYELEE Ghost. So, overall, the first thing that people are going to probably complain about in this video is that it's just a Chinese brand. It's a knockoff to some of the other bigger brands. Obviously, guys, if you know anything about the optic companies that are out there right now, most of them, if not almost all of them, are not being made in the US. Most of the parts come from other sources, and maybe they're, finished here, manufactured here, but, they're not sourced here. In this case, yes, it's a Chinese optic. However, one of the things I would say to you is that this optic is actually pretty damn good. There's not really a lot to complain about. The finish on it is very nice. As you guys can see, it's got a nice little sheen to it, and very reminiscent of, let's say, a hollow sun, right? You can see how the hollow sun is reflecting light, and the CYELEE is as well. Not as much, but definitely has a nice finish on it compared to some of the other brands that are in this price point. Now, the other thing you're going to notice is this pretty large window. Okay, it's definitely a big window, but I do have to say it does sit pretty well on the slide without coming across or over the slide too much. But it is a very large optic. Again, the optic has 3 modes or 3 reticles. The first one being your very, very typical circle, which is a 26 MOA circle. You hold down the brightening button, if that's what they call it. I don't really know what they call it, but you then go to the circle dot mode, okay? And then if you hold it down one more time, which I'm looking at right now on the camera, you have your plain old dot, which is a 2 MOA dot. So they have 3 features of reticles, which is actually pretty nice. Most of these lower whatever you want to call these lesser known brand optics don't have those features or options. They have come out with some of these in green, which I'm trying to get my hands on one, which I think I might have gotten today in the mail, which is kind of cool. And that one is actually going to be on the footprint of a 507K, so that's kind of exciting. Now, the other features you'll see here is that the buttons here on the left side are very, very manageable, very tactile. They click every time you touch them, which is nice. So you're getting that, kind of that audible sensation, but also the physical sensation of actually feeling those clicks. Sometimes when you get some of the cheaper brands, you don't necessarily see that. On the flip side, what you also see is a side mounting tray for your battery. And again, it's to me, this is the way every optic should come. Not all of them are. Some of them are actually coming with them still being mounted underneath the optic, which in my opinion in 2024, going on to 2025 doesn't make any sense anymore, because then when you pull the optic off, you have to re-zero it. And that's kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. That's not anything I want to be a part of. And again, as things change, as more people buy these products, obviously they'll invest more into modifying as they go. At least you'd hope so. Now, the optic window itself is very clear. The glass is very clear. It's, there's not a lot of changing of color. On the flip side, and I'm not muzzling myself, by the way, that's the camera up here. There's a slight colorization of the front of this lens, but nothing that's super significant, nothing that really distorts the image. When you put it up to your eyes, there's no bluing in the glass or anything of that sort. So, I mean, it works pretty darn well. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. I've shot a couple of 100 rounds through this gun with this optic on here. I have to say that I've been very, very pleased. I've been more than pleased. I feel like this has been a very good investment of time and energy. And I like the fact that the price points are very low. I mean, some of these optics that are coming out now are in the $100 range versus the $500 range. And while this is a very expensive gun, well, it was an expensive gun at one time, one of the things I'm going to say is I'm just not going to be that person who's going to invest $500-600 into an optic. Now, some of you might say, well, that's ridiculous. You should. It's a great gun. Cry once, buy once, or buy once, cry once, whatever it is. And that is true. That is the case. But remember, some people right now financially don't have those extra $600, well, anywhere from $300 to $600 to buy an optic for their gun, and they may want one. Now, also, it's going to be about how you use your gun. Now, obviously, we can make videos and we can watch videos of people looking really cool and doing flips and throwing their guns at brick walls and, throwing them out of helicopters and all other stuff. But at the same time, I mean, the 99.9% of us are never going to be put in that situation. And I think it's impractical for people to try to impress on others that you need to get an optic that is made of titanium, can fall, out of a plane or get hit by a meteor, and it's going to be fine and run fine. I just don't think that's reality. And again, that's my opinion. Doesn't have to be yours, but that's how I look at it. More than likely, when you're holding your gun, if you do have an issue with your firearm, you're going to drop it maybe from waist height, potentially shoulder height. But other than that, more than likely, you're not going to be falling off a ladder or getting hit by a car and having your gun, fly 600 feet in the air. And if that's the case, you're probably not going to be using that gun anyway. But I just think that it is impractical to think that these things have to be bulletproof in order for them to be, reasonably reliable. Now, I will say about 300 rounds in, no issues with the optic whatsoever. The zero maintained itself at all times. There is no movement of the optic at all. And it sits excellently in the MR920, as you can see. For me, like if I'm really just starting to get in red dots and really starting to just kind of enjoy them, I just don't want to spend the money that some of these dots are really costing at this point. I've reached out to other people who have had experiences with these. They've all been pretty positive. I mean, I've only had one company that sent me something that was a piece of garbage, and they will remain anonymous. But one of the things I would say to you is that these have been pretty much spot on. Now, the packaging you get with these, here's the box. This is the Ghost HDG. And, it's pretty standard stuff. I mean, there's nothing really different from this than anything else. This particular optic, you get a bunch of different things. You get a bunch of different screws, and you could just see how many friggin' screws are in this thing. It's incredible. But it really just, tells you the effective length, the wrench that you need, everything that you need really to get started where you don't have any questions. And I think that's very useful and very helpful, especially for people who are diving right into this just now. It also comes with a couple of the adjusters for your windage and your elevation, which, by the way, every time you do turn them, they do click. So that is a good thing for you. While some other, lower manufactured optics don't do that, I think that's a good feature to have, just so you know how many clicks it's taken you to get to where you wanted to be and be at zero. I think that's important. Also, with the design of this, one of the things I'm going to say, where the glass is actually housed, is pretty sturdy. It's pretty solid. It doesn't feel like some cheap tinny kind of metal. It actually feels pretty robust and pretty solid. The other cool feature is the fact that you have these two little rings, almost like a protective shroud over the actual optic, which in most cases is something you have to pay extra for in other optics. Here, it seems like it's right included. However, this is one of the only ones that actually has that. The other optics are built very similar to like a CYELEE or a HoloSun, something of that sort. And not saying those are bad, but this is kind of a cool little feature. And they do call this ready for duty and for combat based on the fact. Now, if you go to their website, The Ghost and the Bull both have this supposed fact that if you drop these from 6 feet, this will not damage the glass. It won't break the optic. I have not tested that. However, they just sent to me today the Bull version of this. And let me tell you something. If you guys are looking for the maximum size window that you could get on an optic, I'm going to tell you it's that one. That thing's enormous. It's kind of embarrassing how big that optic is. And I obviously haven't done anything with it yet because I just got it today. But I would say it's definitely bigger than this one. Not exactly sure what the hell I'm going to put on there or with, but it is a pretty interesting looking optic. But one of these bad boys is going to get dropped on a concrete floor. I'm just not sure which one yet. I mean, overall, the brightness levels are very good. The adjustability is very, very bright. I would say for me, the most comfortable that I felt shooting was definitely with the Circle. I just feel like because I have those shaky hands that you guys are all familiar with, the Circle tends to run a little bit better for me because I'm not really expecting to hit bullseyes every time. But as long as I'm within the general vicinity of what I'm aiming at, I'm okay with that. And that's just me. It doesn't have to be you, but that's just me. And the settings are very bright. I mean, this thing gets very, very bright. That is the brightest setting that you see right here. And I'll walk it back a little bit so you can kind of see how it gets adjusted. But you can see how it gets dimmer. Initially, when I was playing around with it at home, I had it about on that setting. When I got it into daylight, I couldn't even see it. So I had to turn it up. And I turned it up considerably a lot. It was a very sunny day today. But, it's very visible, very noticeable. I mean, to me, it's a very crisp. I would say the Circle on this is much crisper than, let's say, the Hollow Suns that I have. And again, this is a 26 MOA, so it's a pretty large Circle. And I do like it. I mean, I do have to say that I've been incredibly impressed with the way this has handled itself. The fact that it's easy to operate, the fact that it's easy to, basically change any feature that you want on there to fit your eyes the best is just fantastic. Even with the large shroud, keep in mind it's kind of it is kind of interesting because when you look at the shroud here, and I'll put that up to the camera, but when you look at the shroud, it is kind of deceiving because it looks like this is enormous. But keep in mind the shroud is actually a little bit taller than the actual encasement for the optic. Nonetheless, when you do put your eye up to it, it is pretty large optic. It is very nice. It's got a good picture. And I got to say, it's very clear. I mean, the glass is clear on the back. The front does not have much coloration. There is a little hue there, as you guys can see, like a purpley orange. But I mean, other than that, it's rock solid, man. I've been extremely happy with this. Again, all disclosure, they did send it to test out, and I've been really happy. So stay tuned because we're going to be putting some more of these to the test. I've gotten, I think, three more of these bad boys. The Bull, which is the enormous one. I got one that's a footprint of a 507K. And then I'm trying to think what the other one was. I can't remember. Oh, it's the enclosed emitter, which is kind of interesting because I have no experience with those either, but it looked pretty cool. And from what I gathered from what they were telling me, they're working on a Gen 2 model. So, of course, we'll see how that works out. And I can't wait to play with all three of them. And I can't wait to let you guys know how they work. But so far, so good, guys. In my opinion, the CYELEE is a very, very good option for anybody who's looking for an affordable and a relatively good optic at a low price. I mean, it just works, and it works really well. So leave some comments down below. Tell me what your thoughts are on this optic, and we'll go from there. I hope you guys have a great night. Stay safe, and as always, everyone, freedom's never free.